to the Game Winner Podcast. I'm your host, Boris Hope, and today we got a little bit of a different show. As you can see, there's nobody else here with me. So we are going to be running a solo dolo show. We missed last week. We had a bye week. So this week we're back with a vengeance. So we're excited. I'm excited. No Fasi, no Zach, so I could just ramble and rant as much as I want. I could talk as much Bucks football as I want, even though they're on a bye week. But in reality, they had a terrible week last week. We have to bring it up just because we were out. But let's move on to this week. We had a lot of great games. Probably one of the most surprising weekends we've had in a while in terms of the NFL. There were so many upsets, so I just want to get right into it and start off with Jets versus Colts. Now, Colts ended up winning this game 45-30, but this game was closer than a lot of people thought it would be. A lot of scoring overall in this game. 30-45 is a lot. And Josh Johnson, 317, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Mike White was playing well until he got hurt, but he had 95 yards and a touchdown. Michael Carter, the rookie, didn't do too much. Elijah Moore, 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Jets offense actually showed up in this game, which was surprising, and I think a lot of people didn't see that coming. The Colts, their defense wasn't playing well. They had a lot of injuries, but their offense balled out. Carson Wentz, 272 and 3 touchdowns. And the man, the myth, the legend, Jonathan Taylor, he had 19 carries for 172 and 2 touchdowns. Those are Madden numbers. So this guy is a bona fide superstar. To go along with that, he caught, 2 passes, 28 yards. Everybody knows that Nyheim Hines is really the pass-catching back in that backfield. But overall, Colts showed up. They're a 4-5 team now. They're kind of that middle division. And the AFC is weird right now. A lot of teams that you wouldn't expect to win, won. A lot of teams that you wouldn't expect to lose, lost. Same thing with the NFC. The NFL is a big jumble. So we'll get into that. All the teams that I believed in, I thought could be great teams. And then you watch this week and you're like, what happened? So, good win for the Colts. You got to get that win. And if the Jets, you showed a little promise, but it is a little concerning that the only quarterback that's not played well for you so far this season is Zach Wilson. So, when he comes back, that'll be interesting. But of course, he's just a young quarterback. He's still learning the ropes and really getting into it. So I think that's okay. He's going to get used to the NFL. He showed a lot in preseason, which I know it's preseason, but he showed some glimpses, so hopefully he gets healthy and he can show some promise for next season. The next game, this is a shocker that I wanted to go over. I wanted to go through. It's that Broncos-Cowboys game. Now, I don't think anybody except for Shannon Sharp talking his smack had the Broncos taking down the Dallas Cowboys. And not only just taking them down, but it was a shutout until the last few minutes of the game where Dak Prescott got a couple garbage touchdowns, made it a little more interesting. But in reality, Dak was not showing up. The final stats show 232, 2 touchdowns and a pick, but he was way worse than that. Ezekiel Elliott only got 10 carries, 51 yards. He actually did well and did a lot with those carries, but 10 carries isn't going to do it. And Dalton Schultz was the leading receiver for the Cowboys. All those guys are back, and Dalton Schultz was the leading receiver with 54 yards. On the other end, the Broncos showed up. I mean, they lost Von Miller. They lost like that heartbeat of the team, and instead of laying down, their defense balled out, played better than they've played in years. So that was good for them. Javonte Williams, 17 carries for 111. That's a great rookie pickup. And then still have Melvin Gordon go for 80 yards and a touchdown. They really have one of the best, I would say, 1-2 combos in the NFL, and they're not getting enough credit for that. Jerry Jeudy came back, 6 receptions for 69 yards. He's a baller, and he's going to just continue to ball out. And Teddy Bridgewater, 249 and a touchdown. He didn't do too much, but he also didn't do too little. So overall, good game for the Broncos, something to hang your hat on. And it just gets to the point that I was talking about where it's just the AFC, the NFC, all these teams right now seem meddling. There isn't that one team that sticks out as like a bona fide superstar team or a team that's just going to win it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the year goes out. Definitely more parity in the NFL this season than I've seen in a long time. So I think that's absolutely exciting. Let's move on. Patriots, Panthers. I think this is a battle of two mediocre teams. I know the Patriots got the victory, But Mac Jones threw 18 passes, 139, a touchdown, and a pick. That's nothing to run home about. Ramondre Stevenson, the rookie, 10 carries, 62 yards. That's great off the 10 carries. And he also had 2 receptions for 44 yards. So Ramondre Stevenson kind of being that all-around back for them. That's good. They're going to need that from him if they're going to have success moving forward. Panthers, final score was 24-6, but this game, everybody knows it was the Sam Darnold blow-up game. 16 for 33, 172, and 3 interceptions is just not going to get it done. Those are stats. The 3 picks is just going to kill any team. It was good to see Christian McCaffrey back. He had another, 52 rushing yards, 54 receiving yards, balanced, good starting game. But this Panthers team, they started out 3-0, and they're just not living up to the hype. I don't believe in them too much. But same with the Patriots. So honestly, 2 mediocre teams. One has a winning record now with 5-4, and the other one's more mediocre at 4-5. So overall, we'll kind of see they'll probably be battling it out, both of them in the AFC and NFC for that 7th playoff spot. They're not going to win their division, and they'll be in that lower wild card. So they could make some noise in the playoffs. This game, the Vikings and Ravens. Now, this was an interesting game. Minnesota was up 14-0 in this game. Dominating. And what do the Baltimore Ravens do? They do what they've been doing all year. There used to be this narrative of Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens can't come back in games because, they're a running team. They can't do that. But now that they're more of a passing team with Lamar being able to run when he has to and when he needs to, they've come back from 3 or 4 of these double-digit, leads where even in the third quarter they were down by 14 to the Minnesota Vikings. So great win for the Ravens. They are a weird team, though, because 266, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks for Lamar Jackson with another 120 rushing. That's a great game. Even Devontae Freeman had 79 rushing yards. But the part that gets you worried is they keep being put down in these games, which is good and bad because it means that they're struggling and they're putting themselves in this position, which is bad. But later on in the season, we see a lot of these teams that lose a lot of these games or come back to win in crazy fashions all season. They're built for coming back. They know what it's like to be down. They never give up on themselves, and they're a dangerous team that they're going to be battling with the Browns, with the Steelers, with the Bengals. That division is just jumbled right now, especially with what Browns did to the Bengals this weekend. But they're a team that's going to battle. And the Vikings, this is a disappointing loss. But Kirk Cousins, 187 and 2 touchdowns. That's kind of crumbling. You got to play better than that. He started out hot, and then they just fell asleep for 2.5 quarters. And then you got Dalvin Cook, 17 carries, 110 yards. Great game for Dalvin Cook. Jefferson got 69 and a touchdown. Pretty decent. You would have liked to see a little more Adam Thielen. He only had 2 receptions for 6 yards, but did get the touchdown. So he did something, but not as much as you would expect from a star in this league. Maybe he's aging himself out a little bit, but this Vikings team, they're one of those teams, like I said, battling for that 7th spot in the playoffs, but they're a team unlike the Patriots. The Patriots, I'm not quite as worried about. I'm not I'm worried about playing the Patriots. But the Vikings are a dangerous team. They have the talent to put anyone away, and they just keep losing these close games and blowing leads. They're a team that I would watch out for to make a possible run in the second half of the season, especially if Kirk Cousins can figure it out because he's a better player than that. And I think it'll show up sooner rather than later. Now I want to talk about a team, the Cleveland Browns. I want to give them their flowers. They lost Odell Beckham this week. They cut him from the team. Everybody's talking about how poor and how bad Baker Mayfield is. And, of course, he missed on some throws. That's undeniable. But 218, 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb balled out now that he's getting healthy with 137 and 2 touchdowns off of 14 carries. He almost averaged 10 yards a carry. That's how good Nick Chubb was. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a big touchdown. But overall, the Browns just showed up. And we can't forget about that 99-yard return, pick 6 against Burrow when they were driving. Burrow, this was one of his worst games. He threw 40 times, threw for 282 and 2 picks. Mixon looked good. But this Bengals team is all over the map. They're hot and cold, kind of like the Ravens. It's just all these teams in the division, even the Browns, Browns, Steelers, Bengals, Ravens. All of these teams are just jumbled in my opinion. They're kind of one of those any given Sunday teams where any given Sunday you can get a good game or a bad game. And I think that's the case for every single one of these teams in the AFC East or the AFC North. Sorry. In the AFC North, I think all these teams are jumbled and put together. And so this is going to be an interesting race. Bengals, Cleveland Browns, they're tied. So 5-4 each. The division is really jumbled up. I'm excited to see what happens. And I think that will probably be the most competitive and intriguing playoff divisional race the rest of the season. So happy for the Browns. They deserve it, but they got to keep pulling together these wins because that division is just so loaded. Moving on to another shocking game. I did not see this coming, and I don't think anyone in the country, not even people in Jacksonville, but 9-6, the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills 9-6. If you're the Bills, you're probably going to win your division, but you cannot let the Patriots get anywhere close. Josh Allen, 264 and 2 interceptions, terrible game. All the parody, of course, talking about, Josh Allen sacks Josh Allen intercepts Josh Allen causes fumble. So the real Josh Allen this week was the Jaguars Josh Allen. That was the one to have. And he dominated, honestly. Jaguars offense didn't do much. Trevor Lawrence got hurt. He only had 118 yards. C.J. Beathard came in towards the end of the game. Carlos Hyde, 67 yards, 3 yards a carry. This was a defensive win for the Jaguars. They deserve all the credit for that defense playing, showing out. And if this felt like the defense back when they had Blake Bortles playing against the Patriots for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. This is that Jalen Ramsey-led defense. That's what it felt like. They were just killing it. So exciting to see the Jaguars have at least a little life, but they're still 2-6. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But I think that they are a team up and coming. And I like what I've seen overall from Trevor Lawrence. He's probably the best rookie quarterback in this class right now. I know he's the number one pick, but he's actually playing pretty well, and a lot of these guys are struggling. So hopefully he gets healthy. I think he might play next week, but we'll see. This team, you love to see it from the defense. Let's see if they could put together a couple weeks in a row of having a great defense, because what they did to Josh Allen this week in that Buffalo Bills team was very impressive and shocking for everyone in the league. So if they can do that, we'll see what happens from there. All right, moving on to a game that was close, that was fun. I'm talking about the Chargers and the Eagles. This was a back-and-forth affair. Overall, Justin Herbert's a monster. The guy's a beast. 32 for 38, 356 and 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler doing Austin Eckler things. He didn't get as many catches as he usually does, but he still got his rushing yards. And I just love this Chargers team. I wish Zach was here to talk about them because they're just a fun team to watch. They're a fun team to root for, and you just hope that they put it all together. I do want to see a little bit more from Mike Williams. He had 58 yards, but only 2 receptions. Keenan Allen, 12 receptions, 104. So he was getting the bulk of the receptions, the bulk of the looks. So that might just mean that Mike Williams is getting a little more respect and they're putting a little more defense towards his side. It's hard to say, but overall, good game. Jalen Hurts, he only threw the ball 17 times, 162 and a touchdown. That's not a lot. That's minimal. Jordan Howard got 17 carries. Jalen Hurts got 10, and Boston Scott got 10. So they were running it a lot more than people have been used to from the Eagles, and it worked. That little bit of balance helped definitely keep the Chargers defense on their toes. But 27-24, Eagles 3-6. They're not winning a lot of games, but you just want to see guys develop. And I think the one guy that has developed and is going to continue to develop is Devontae Smith. 5 receptions for 116 and a touchdown. He's a bona fide baller. This wide receiver class in general, I know Jamar Chase has been struggling, but Jamar Chase, you have Waddle, you have Devontae Smith. There are a lot of guys, a lot of rookies making a name for themselves, and all the hype that we heard going into the draft season is coming true. So Eagles, you have something to hold your hat on. If you get a quarterback, or if you believe in Jalen Hurts, that's fine. I don't believe that he's the answer, and I think they should probably look to get a guy in the draft. But if you can get a guy in the draft that works out, pair him with Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert's a good player. You got a couple of guys. You still need that number 2 receiver. Jalen Reagor is not living up to the hype. But Devontae Smith's a baller, and he was worth that pick for sure. So exciting times a little bit. Just try to build for that quarterback. That's the best that you can wish for if you are a Eagles fan, and I think that's not a terrible place to be. Moving on to a disappointing game. Everybody knows about the Aaron Rodgers news, not getting the vaccine. So he had to sit out of this game, and that gave us the first chance to see Jordan Love in action. So he did not look good. His stats are actually better than he looked on the field. 19 for 34, 190, a touchdown and a pick. But he just couldn't move the ball against the Chiefs defense that is struggling against pretty much everybody. And this whole Packers offense, it wasn't a huge surprise. The bigger surprise, I know the Chiefs won 13-7, but Patrick Mahomes does not look like Patrick Mahomes. He looks like a different player. 20 for 37, 166 and a touchdown. Darrell Williams, 70 yards. Travis Kelce, the number one receiver, 5 catches for 68 and a touchdown. And Tyreek Hill, 4 for 37. It looks like the goal of the teams is to slow down Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, just like the Buccaneers did in the Super Bowl. And then nobody else on the team can get open or catch the ball, and they can't run the ball that well. So that strategy has been working for pretty much everyone. And I think that the Chiefs need to figure out something to do to change that. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they're a team that gets an Odell Beckham. I know everybody's talking about the Seahawks, and maybe by the time I release this, we'll already know where he's going. But the Chiefs just need anybody, even if it's a decoy, just somebody to help out with Tyreek and Kelce and put them over the top. Because right now, I mean, Demarcus Robinson, Josh Gordon, I mean, these guys they're not doing anything. McCole Hardman, that guy's, talk about a bust. He has done nothing. So they need that second receiver, that third receiving option behind Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and they just don't have it. And the running backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out, so he was supposed to be the guy to help, but you need more than that, and you need Mahomes to play better, honestly. He just does not look like the same Patrick Mahomes, and hopefully he can figure it out, because if not, this is a mediocre Chiefs team at best, with an offense struggling and a defense that can't stop anybody except for Jordan Love. We need to see more from them. But moving on, another shocking game. This game and the Jaguars games are two of the most shocking games I've seen. I know the Tennessee Titans are 7-2, but to go beat the Los Angeles Rams 28-16, it's not even about the score. It's not even about their records. It's just about the way the game looked. And it's more about the Titans' defense, not their offense. Offense, Ryan Tannehill, 143, a touchdown and a pick. Not doing too much. Honestly, the offense struggled for the Titans pretty much the whole game, but that defense was just on Stafford. Those 2 interceptions in a row, one taken back to the red zone and then following it up with a touchdown pass, and then right after that going for a pick 6 on Matthew Stafford. Those 2 plays changed the game dramatically, but even still, Stafford, 294, a touchdown, 2 picks. He just was not the same Stafford. And Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp did their thing, both having 98 and 95 yards respectively. But you got to look at this team, the Rams, and I think they're probably the best team in the NFL, top to bottom. I have them over the Cardinals. I think they're just a baller team. The Cardinals are close. But this Titans team, the more you doubt them, the more that they put people in their place. They've beaten a lot of good teams. They're hot right now, and they're 7-2 without a Derrick Henry. So they go into LA playing against the Rams, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, without Derrick Henry, and beat them 28-16. You got to give them their flowers. I mean, Tennessee deserves all the credit in the world. They are a team that can beat anybody, and I think they're a team that can lose to anybody, as they've shown with the Jets. So it just adds to what I'm saying in terms of this year. I feel like there's not like a favorite in either conference, honestly. I mean, maybe the Rams because I believe in them. Maybe the Cardinals because, they whooped up on the Rams. But I just feel like we're in a league this year specifically more than others that like any team can come out and win the Super Bowl. I just believe there's 20 teams that can do it. A couple of weeks ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said maybe there's like 5 or 6. But man, there are a lot of just weird teams and good teams that you have at like the top of the list. all of a sudden getting shocked by teams that have no business beating them, like the Bills losing to the Jaguars. Like games like that, the Titans losing to the Jets, the Rams getting destroyed by the Titans. I understand losing a close game, but getting destroyed by the Titans, it just seems like a crazy year and a lot of crazy stuff happening. Just really a shocking game. And then the last one, this one is also shocking. I know that the Cardinals are 8-1, and I know that the 49ers are now in 3-5, but Kyler Murray out, DeAndre Hopkins out. Colt McCoy has to throw 22 for 26, 249 and a touchdown, and James Conner is balling out with 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. They picked up the pace. They don't have most of their guys, and they still beat the 49ers handedly, a healthy 49ers team for one of the few times recently, 31-17. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, 326, 2 touchdowns and a pick. They got George Kittle back, who had 101 yards and a touchdown, so that was good. But the running game, 8 carries for 36 yards, non-existent. And if you know what Kyle Shanahan's trying to do, he wants to run the football, so that's not a good sign. Overall, honestly, Garoppolo, decent numbers, but man, I mean, you got to beat a team with a backup quarterback and losing their number one receiver. They're missing their number one running back. I mean, overall, you got to take a team like that down, and it shows how deep the Cardinals really are. And maybe they are better than I'm saying, and they did whip on the Rams, but I still have the Rams as the number one team, even after all their struggles this week. But that Cardinals team, they're coming. To whoop up on a team like that when you're down all your guys, it's impressive. It is really impressive. And let's finish it off. We usually film the shows on Sundays, but this week we decided to do it Monday night. So we just had the Monday night matchup, Steelers, Bears. Steelers pulled off the victory at the end. Kind of an ugly, sloppy game from both teams. Didn't see too much I was super impressed with. I did like that Justin Fields. I've talked a little bit of smack about Justin Fields on this podcast. I still don't believe in Justin Fields even after this game, and he had a couple big plays, but he had also just some terrible plays. I do think I saw a little glimpse of talent. Not talent. I've seen talent, but I saw a little glimpse of hope of him being a franchise quarterback on that last drive of the game before the Steelers took the lead and won it. That last drive, he took the team down the field. He got that touchdown pass. Like, that was the best 2 throws I've seen from Justin Fields all season. If he could play more like that, more consistently, then we might be talking about a real franchise quarterback. But everything else in this game, I just don't see it there. I don't see what I've seen from other players early in their career. But at the same time, I'm willing to change, and I'm willing to wait to see it. Guys like Josh Allen, for example, he took couple years before you really saw him making the right decisions, and some guys just take a little bit longer. It's really hard to say, so I'll hold off. I'll wait for now, but I'm not too impressed. They still could have won this game. Big Ben didn't play great. Najee Harris didn't play great. Najee Harris is kind of that ultimate fantasy football running back. 22 carries for 62 yards is terrible, yet you add that with all of his catches, 3 catches, 16 yards. He gets the touchdown on the ground, and he has a decent fantasy game, even though he did not play well at all. So overall, Pittsburgh, throw them in that mix with the AFC North. I don't know who's going to win that division. I actually think I would like to see the Browns win it. I really would, but if I were to put my money on it today, I would go with the Ravens just because of what they're doing with Lamar Jackson, and he just seems to be on a roll right now, and nobody can stop him. So that's exciting for them. And then if you're the Bears, you hang your hat on your defense playing pretty well for the most part, but other than that, you need to get more weapons. You need to get Allen Robinson involved. He had that one big catch at the end of the game, but other than that, he was relatively quiet. Cole Kmet, he's a decent player, but you need to get more weapons. David Montgomery had a good game coming back. Khalil Herbert is still a beast. So there are a couple guys on this offense, but overall, it's rebuilding, retooling. Just keep trying to get weapons for Justin Fields if that is your guy moving forward. and give him some time because right now he seems raw. He doesn't seem ready, but give him a couple years and he could be good to go. It's still too early to tell. I'm just worried based on a couple of things that I've seen from him, missing open players, making terrible decisions. He even took a sack today where he just didn't even read the guy being like coming in or like making a move towards him. So that's not a good sign. But overall, he's got time, and I think he will figure it out eventually. Maybe. Uh, I wouldn't bank on it. I wouldn't bank on it. I hope he proves me wrong because I don't like rooting against players, but I'm just kind of calling it the way I've seen it so far. And I just compare him to other players that I've seen struggle like that early in their career. But he's got a shot. He's got a chance. He just needs to work on accuracy and reading the play better. But I hope he does better because the Bears have been longing for that franchise quarterback for a long, long time. Well, I think that just about does it. I skipped a few games because some of them weren't quite as interesting as others. I got to the most important ones, or they had maybe had teams that weren't quite as playoff relevant. So I did not include them. Actually, you know what? I want to go over the Saints game. Saints Falcons. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I did see the Saints winning this. The Falcons all of a sudden are putting together a couple of wins. They're 4-4. Saints, I mean, they're starting Trevor Siemian, who played decent, but Matt Ryan's starting to tear it up. 343, 2 touchdowns, running game non-existent. Their leading carrier was Mike Davis with 13 yards. Cordero Patterson, the do-all shifty guy, didn't do anything on the ground, but he had over 126 receiving yards. So that's a huge game for him. And he's just that weird, utility knife that you never know how you're going to slice him and dice him. He's just going to get in there and he's going to get his yards and be there where the coach needs him. And it's just really strange to see that from Cordell Patterson because he's been on multiple teams, multiple systems. Everybody's tried to get this out of him and they've never been able to do it. So all of a sudden, he goes to Atlanta, Arthur Smith, boom, boom, knocks it out, and now they're just killing it. So happy for him. Happy for the Falcons, and they're going to make this division a little more interesting with the Saints, the Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers struggling, but they still have a shot to bring it back up. If you're the Saints, you're just trying to survive the Trevor Siemian time. Alvin Kamara, good game, kind of like that Christian McCaffrey game we talked about earlier. 50 yards on the ground with the touchdown and then 54 in the air. But Alvin Kamara was their leading receiver. It can be good sometimes, but if he's only got 54 yards, that's not good for your team. You need to have somebody else kind of step up on that offense. I know the team's been going through a lot, but if they could just get somebody to play some good offense, play some good receiver, the Saints are a dangerous team. That defense is good, so they're going to be in the playoff hunt. I think both of these teams could possibly be in that 7th seed playoff hunt, 6-7. So big win for the Falcons, huge plays for Matt Ryan, and happy for him, especially at this point where people are giving up on him and telling people to draft somebody else, draft the Justin Fields, for example. Instead, they stick with him, and this week it paid off. We'll see if that continues because we've seen Jekyll and Hyde from Matt Ryan, just like we've seen him, seen it from a lot of other players. So overall, big win for the Falcons, but I'm just looking forward to next week. Next week, the Bucs are back. We'll have Fasi. We'll have Zach back. And we're going to have another episode of the Game Winner. Sorry we took last week off. Just a little bit of a bye week while we were busy with some stuff, some family stuff. But next week, we'll be back, all three of us, and we're going to go through all the games once again. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Watch it on YouTube if you're just listening to the audio version. And if you're watching on YouTube, check it out on your podcasts. Listen to the audio version. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Peace.